Now.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. This is Tammy DeLue, also sometimes known as the Grouchy Marketing Lady, although I'm seldom grouchy unless I don't get my coffee. But today I'm really pleased to bring a very special presentation to you. It's Delta Business Services, and we're going to have Heath Franson on, and he's going to discuss with you how to create a perfect business exit strategy. This is how to sell your business, get cash flow for life, and pay zero taxes. It sounds really too good to be true, Heath. But I guess
well, it is pretty good.
It sounds great. And you know, Heath, I was going to say I was connected with you through somebody that I really, really value and trust, and he has this amazing solution to some problems that we're going to talk about today. And I'm going to let Heath, after he talks about the problems, I'm going to ask him just to give a little bit of his background and why he's so qualified to do this, and also how he came up with this great solution. So if you're here today to learn how you can exit your business successfully with a whole lot less stress, you are in the right place. And everyone that gets this recording, whether you're getting a recording or whether you're watching this live, you're going to get a free report. Again, we are here with Heath Franson. He's out in Texas, and he's the president and the chief kahuna of the CEO, the chief cook and bottle washer of Delta Business Services. And he wears many different hats, but he still has a full head of hair there, so he probably doesn't even need to. But today we want to know, we're going to ask Heath to explain a little bit about the pain that owners of businesses are going through and why they would ever in the world want to sell their successful businesses. So without further ado, here is Mr. Heath Franson. Welcome, Heath.
Thank you, Tammy. Thank you. Let me hang up my dish rag and bottles right quick so I can get to this. Oh, goodness. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this opportunity. I'm Heath Franson. I'm a business owner. I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm very passionate about two things. I'm very passionate about business. I'm also very passionate about taking care of people. And with Delta, I've been able to successfully merge the two. I come from a long line of entrepreneurs. I'm down here in San Antonio, Texas, and I have over 20 years of experience doing deals out there. I'm talking about bare-knuckled experience in the trenches, doing deals, and finding out what it takes to really be successful today. Let me tell you a little something about what business owners are encountering when they go to even think about selling their business. Even if it is a profitable business, let me tell you, the owners, they usually are miserable. Even if it's a successful business, the owners can be miserable. And the reason why is because they've been working so much. They consistently knock out 70, 75, 80-hour work weeks, and they have unmet expectations in the form of they don't have the freedom of free time that they were promised when they read the book that said all you got to do is put your business on systems, and you can go and you can leave it for a month and come back, and your business is going to magically grow and be more profitable.
What? You can't? What about that 10-hour work week?
Yeah, exactly. No. Yeah, all you got to do is work 4. All you got to do is work 4 hours a week. That's it. That's what the new book says. Just work 4 hours a week and you're golden. And you know what? You're going to make more money working 4 hours a week. What I think that particular guy is doing is he's making a lot of money selling books, but I doubt very seriously he's making a lot of money on a consistent basis in business. It's a completely different world. So these folks have had enough. They want to try something new. They're on to the next thing. In fact, many times they're already 1 foot out of their business and 1 foot into the next thing. And the next thing might be another business. It also might be another chapter of their life. They might be having a life change. They might be thinking about selling their business and retiring and spending some time with the grandkids, or they want to reconnect with their spouse and go tour the national parks in an RV, or maybe they're fond of sailing and maybe they got a little boat and they want to sail the Caribbean or something. But they want to try something new. They've got other ideas that they want to explore.
So you're saying a business, like it's kind of like a business divided against itself cannot stand kind of thing, because they're half in, half out, and there's a tension there, right? Yeah. And this is what happens when the tension gets too much, right?
That's it.
You end up with health.
Inevitably, yes. I see this one way too much, and it's because of the consistent 70, 75-hour work weeks. They're working all the time. They can't really focus on their health too. They're eating poorly. They don't get time to go to the gym. They don't get time to meditate. They don't get time just to rest. It's very, very common for me as a business buyer, and I've been on over 300 deals in my career, to encounter business owners who are just flat dead tired. And if that keeps up for too long, it's going to take its toll, and it's going to show up in your health. It also shows up in family and personal problems. Too many times a business owner has to go out of town for a business trip to close a big account, or they're staying late trying to get a project done at work because it's critical. It's mission critical. So many things in small business, at least, fall on the business owner's shoulders, and that takes its toll with the family. It does, because you're not there to go to Junior's baseball game or Sally's ballet recital or Sally's soccer game. You're just not there, and those things take their toll. In fact, psychologically, they make a business owner feel guilty about their business. I mean, they've got this business and it is generating cash, and they know in order to keep it profitable, guess what? It has to have daddy there, and daddy has to be stewarding the business and captaining the ship. And if not, well, then the ship can run aground very easily. And they also have a need for more cash, and they might be trying to retire, and if they're changing from working to retirement, they're simultaneously trying to figure out, okay, how can I set up myself for retirement so that I don't outlive my retirement fund? That is the number one fear. The number one fear in the retirement world is not having enough. And so they want some cash so that they can beef up their retirement fund and hopefully not outlive that retirement fund.
There could be other reasons also that they might need it. I mean, maybe what about funding a college education or something? Are they?
Oh, definitely.
Under these kind of pressures?
Definitely. There's college educations which are just going up. I cannot recall the last time I've seen a college education actually decrease in cost. They might be moving. They might be buying an RV to go tour the national parks, or multiple uses for extra cash. But what we have done at Delta is we have taken the pain points that retiring business owners are facing, which amounts to, quite frankly, a mountain of complexity that is mind-boggling. And we've dealt with this thing, and we have tackled each of the 5 critical issues facing sellers of businesses today who are retiring and, quite frankly, don't feel they can, because they're going to pay too much in taxes, not be able to sustain their lifestyles, and not have enough to live on for retirement. Here are some statistics. These are true statistics. If you're a business owner today and you're looking to exit, you're going to be facing some harsh realities. There are 378,000 business owners who turn 65 each year in this country. Baby boomers are huge right now, and they will be for the foreseeable future. It's the single largest generation of our population, and it's also the most entrepreneurial generation that this country has ever seen. 8 out of 10 of them lack a plan, and I mean just even a simple plan, having something written down. It's not a plan until it's written down. Until then, it's just an idea, and only 24,000 businesses actually sell each year. And these are true statistics. So the next question is, who's going to take care of baby? Yes, ma'am?
I was going to say, those 24,000, they're not all successful either. So if you pared away the ones where the sellers hosed, you'd probably be closer to like 15,000 that are actually successful.
That's right. Yeah. Well, yeah, it's 1 in 4 that actually sell wind up being successful, and so that's a very good distinction, Tammy. Thank you. Just because a business owner sells a business does not mean that they have punched the ball into the end zone and put some points on the board. Not a small business. And I realize that many times people go, oh, I sold my business, I'm done, I reached the goal. No, you haven't. That's just part one. There's a second part to it, and that is the transition in business. Because selling a business is not like selling a piece of real estate or selling a car. The deal is not done when you see the customer's taillights, and the deal is not done when the keys cross the table. It doesn't work that way. There's a transition, and that transition can last a number of years. And if the business fails in that transition, many times the seller loses out because they have taken back some financing on that deal, and their financing is riding on the future success of the business. That's just the way it goes. There isn't really another financing alternative available these days in the world, in the financial markets, because not many lenders like lending to small businesses. It's too risky. So the seller takes back the financing, and if the transition isn't successful, well then they're out. So now you've got a whole slew of businesses that are trying to be sold. They never do sell. And the ones that do sell, 3 out of 4 of them have an unsuccessful transition. And you go, my goodness alive, what does that mean? Let me tell you what it means. It means you got a 3% chance. That's what you got. If you're selling a business, this is the sober reality, you got a 3% chance of having a truly successful outcome. So who will take care of baby? You got about 40% of business owners who leave their businesses to family members. It could be a son, it could be a daughter, it could also be a nephew or a niece, or it could be a grandson or a granddaughter, but the family business sort of stays in the family. The other part is 60% of people who need to sell. They're looking for a way out, and they don't have one. And that is a huge problem. Let me tell you a little bit more about why businesses don't sell, because that's a huge, huge problem in the market. This is something that I've spent the last 7 years of my life putting my finger on. Number one, you've got a serious lack of competent, qualified buyers out there. And it's serious. They don't have the business skills and tools that it takes to run a business successfully, to successfully transition a business from old ownership to new ownership, and then grow the business once they've transitioned through that no man's land, really, of not knowing what to do. The second thing is you have to understand these qualified buyers. It's a very small percentage of the market. The qualified buyers who truly have skills and tools to take good care of baby, they have a ton of choices. And they are looking at businesses as an investment. They are not looking at businesses to buy a job. They are looking to buy businesses as a way of having leveraged income. That's very important to realize. These guys, these professional buyers, they understand the principles of leverage and how to use it. They do. And they have a ton of choices, and they're looking at these businesses just as a stream of income. That's it. They are not all wrapped up in whether the thing makes pizza or the thing is a string of dry cleaners or it's a car wash. They do not care about that.
They just want to know
what they care about is
it makes money.
Is it throwing off cash?
Yep.
That's right. Also, here's another big problem. You got too many cooks spoiling the broth. You got third parties that gum up the process, and these are people who are other than the principals, people other than the buyer and seller, who have their own agendas that they want served. And that could be an intermediary, most likely it is. And by intermediary, I mean a business broker specifically. I'm not going to go into it too much here on this webinar. That's another whole webinar. But you also have some attorneys that might want to control the process. You might have a third-party financing source like a mezzanine lender that has certain terms and conditions that have to be adhered to. And so everybody is wanting their interests met from the deal, and they forget about the buyer and the seller. And that's a huge problem, because the buyer and the seller are the ones who make the deal go. No one is going to get paid if the buyer and the seller don't reach an agreement. And if you have too many gremlins in the works all trying to dip their fingers in the pie, you're going to wind up squeezing the deal too much, and it's going to burst. And that's precisely what happens.
And we talked to some of those are the business
brokers.
Did these look like business
brokers? Oh yeah, I mentioned the business brokers.
They're not the only ones.
Indeed.
But the reason is, and Heath will discuss this in a minute, the reason people turn to these is they're almost a last resort, aren't they, for some of these desperate business owners? These guys?
Right. Exactly. So people transfer the same thought process from the real estate world when they went to sell their house, or when they went to buy a house, they probably used a broker. And in the real estate world, brokers are a completely different animal. That animal is you can usually get a pretty fair shake from a real estate broker. Usually, I realize there are some exceptions. That not everybody's perfect, but in the real estate world, at least, there are some standardized licensing procedures. These folks have to go to school, and they have to get educated, and then they have to take a test, and they get regulated by a state authority usually. And I'm not saying that regulation is a key here, but business brokers have no standardized licensing regulations at all. There are no moral and ethical codes that they have to adhere to, and there's no recourse if a seller of a business has a bad experience with a business broker. There's no recourse that they got other than to sue. They can't go and get a claim on a complaint fund. They can't go to a regulatory agency and have a license suspended. They can't do that. All they got is the court system, which almost never happens because the process is so fatiguing, gets drawn out for selling their business, that at the end of the day, at the end of the process, even if it is successful, they're so worn out, they're done. They're on to the next thing, and they don't want to have anything to do with anybody anymore.
And Heath, I was going to say, I had to redo this
That's
slide.
a problem with business.
I was going to tell you, I had to redo this slide 5 times. I kid you not, I kept putting crooks up there instead of cooks. Is that like Freudian or what? No, I had to really redo this so many times. We want to let everyone know that there's a whole...
Either one would be accurate.
there's a whole lot more that we can say about business brokers. I'm going to give you this tinyurl.com/bizbroker report there.
Mm-hmm.
You can go and read Heath's article on 20 reasons that you shouldn't use a business broker when you sell your business. And then you can find out more of the reasons why you might want to reconsider that. So to sum everything up, selling a business in today's climate is really hampered by, number one, too few quality buyers, too many choices for the very small gene pool of buyers that you have, and lots of third parties with agendas that are oftentimes working at cross purposes, like consultants, business brokers, attorneys, and they are slowing down the process and making it so frustrating and so time consuming and so expensive that people are just they're throwing their hands up. So what must happen, Heath, in order for a successful sale to occur nowadays? What should they be doing right now?
Great question.
Owner. What are you going to do to make it happen?
Great question. All right. There are 2 big overarching principles that if a business owner wants to, a fighting chance at selling their business, you need to get these, you need to grab onto them and run with them. The first principle is understand that astute buyers buy investments. Transform your business into an investment. If you think about it that way, I think you're going to get a much better angle on packaging your business to sell. That's the key phrase there. You want to package your business to sell. And that begs the question, okay, what kind of buyer do I want to attract? That's another great question. And then you have to ask the question from there, what kind of business do I need to become in order to attract the kind of buyer that I want to buy my baby? And I think if you come at it from that angle, you're going to have a lot better success. The second thing I would recommend is that you take some time as a business owner who wants to sell your business and ask yourself, what do you really, really want in the sale of your business? What does success look like to you? And start putting down some of the things that you want to have happen and some of the things that you want to avoid in the process and in the outcome. And I think if you can list 3 or 4 or 5 things in each of those categories, I think you can get well on down the road to mapping out what success is going to look like and an ideal outcome. This is a typical situation for Delta, all right? This is what we would do at Delta. We have a business owner who makes about $300,000 net cash profits per year. Traditionally, that sale price would be about $900,000. It might be $1 million. So we're trying to get some easy math here on this for this example. After the broker takes 10% and the IRS takes 35%, and no, I'm not kidding about that 35% number. When you add up the capital gains taxes and you add up some of the income taxes on a traditional sale, that's it. It's almost half. And depending on the structure the business is in, Tammy, if it's a C corporation, there are going to be 2 levels of taxation. This is a minimum. I'm talking 35% minimum. It can be as high as the taxes. Yeah, it could be as high as 55%. So you add up the 55% effective tax rate.
You know what I was thinking?
The 10% in broker's fee.
I was thinking. You know what this? I was just reading this, thinking 35 was really getting hosed, but 55 is crazy. And why would you even want to get into business at that point? I mean, really, it's kind of discouraging.
Right. Yes, exactly. Well, the IRS has changed some of the rules. You know, the capital gains taxes have gone up. And let me tell you about C corporations. You have two different levels of taxation there. The first is the corporate level, and that is a very steep tax bracket. And then you have individual taxes on dividends that are distributed to shareholders. And when you're selling a business and you're liquidating it, you're selling the assets, you're going to have to pay taxes on both levels. So you're winding up selling your business, and you're walking away from the closing table scratching your head going, why in the world did I do that? I paid everybody but me. That's a problem. So this might leave you about $550,000 or so in proceeds. Now you need to turn right around and reinvest that to create a stream of income for your retirement. You want security because it's your retirement. It needs to be safe. You might get 5 to 10% if you're lucky in something that's secure and conservative, something like real estate maybe. And so the result winds up being $550,000 deployed, converted to about $55,000 a year. This is at best. This is at best. And that is much less than the $300,000 a year standard of living that they're used to. What does this mean? I'll tell you what it means. You are going to have a substantial lifestyle change. And it's not going to be for the better either.
Well, some people, those could argue, I mean, not that the tax rate's really good, Heath, but some people would say, well, maybe, Heath, though, as people get ready to retire, they're ready to downsize and downscale anyway. Maybe they're going to sell their extra home at the beach and get in the RV and go to the Black Hills, you know. Maybe they don't need as much, but that's huge, even if you don't need as much. That's just amazing.
Right, right. Indeed.
So what's the challenge?
So the next thing is on the buy side. Yeah, on the buy side, this is what we're facing. What you have is a lot of scarcity in the capital markets for small businesses. Lenders do not like small businesses because of the risk. And we've seen a lot of lenders' loan pools evaporate since 07 and 08. They're just not willing to take a look at small businesses anymore. So what we do at Delta is we avoid all this brain damage. We don't need this mess. What we do is say, look, why don't we take out the big problems here, not only for the seller and the buyer. Delta sets up the business so that it becomes a lifetime tax advantage stream of income for the sellers. That's right. It's a lifetime tax advantaged stream of income for the sellers. We'll pay you, and by the way, if you're married, this applies to your spouse too. So if your spouse is of retirement age. So it goes all the way out until the second spouse passes, period. End of sentence, end of chapter, end of book. And gives the sellers what they're looking for, which is a predictable, secure cash flow stream from the sale of their business for the rest of their lives. We avoid the broker fees. We avoid the taxes. We get a faster sale. We have a higher success rate. There are no third parties that are gumming up the process. We take all of the gremlins out of the works. And we keep the business and the seller's net worth, get this, Tammy, 100% intact.
Beautiful.
And it's the only deal out there where you will. That's it.
Wow.
So the Delta solution looks like this. It's very easy to get a conversation started. We have a website. You can download the non-disclosure. You can go to the website, and by the way, it's an educational-based website. We have more information products and videos and write-ups and radio interviews than you can shake a stick at. Listen and watch and read all of it. And if you have a business and you want to get something started, we have a 24 to 48 hour turnaround once we get a preliminary analysis done. You send us some information, some preliminary information, and we turn right around and shoot you back, okay, thumbs up or thumbs down. You're going to know where you stand with Delta. And we put together some initial terms and conditions once we get a thumbs up. from you, and then approximately 72 hours later, this is 72 business hours later in the process, we map out the key points of the deal, and we send you a conditional letter of intent. And this starts the due diligence process. And due diligence with us is systematized, and it is plug and play. You don't even have to think about it. We do everything for you. It's typically 60 days. We sometimes get it done less than that, depending on how well organized you are and your responsiveness. If we have some questions during diligence, and in every case we will have questions, but it's mechanical. It is automatic, and you push a button and we go. We sift through the business, we validate the assets, we validate the liabilities and the income and cash flow. And if we like what we see, then we have a successful closing of the due diligence period, and we move to definitive agreements where we finalize and close the transaction. And this is done very, very simple, the kind of closing that we have. It's easy peasy. We can do it in about 15 minutes. And then the deal is closed. And at that point, we do a transition process. It's a five-step process, and the final step is the easiest. It's a 90-day transition process, and it's also called a management assistance period. And this is where old ownership that is moving on to retirement transitions to new ownership that is taking over the business, and they help us get to know the business, get to know the customers, get to know the employees. It makes for a very smooth transition. We do this all the time at Delta. It really works great. After that, the seller is retired. The seller is retired after that. You can move on to retirement, and here's what your retirement looks like. You're going to get regular monthly checks from Delta for the rest of your natural life. And this applies to your spouse too. And by the way, it's indexed to inflation. We index this to the CPI. So you never lose purchasing power in those regular monthly checks. You also have a potential balloon payment to your estate at the end of your life. So there is a component at the end where you can leave something to your heirs. And maybe you didn't want to leave your heirs your business. Maybe you were fearful that they would run it into the ground, but you still want to leave them something nice. Well, we can do that. We can do that. And by the way we set this up, it's all tax advantaged, and there's some wonderful tax treatments that we take advantage of by doing this at the end of the life of a business owner. The owner has certainty of strong financial income, that you don't have to worry. You can sleep well at night. Oh, and by the way, you know that people with competent managerial expertise are in charge at the helm, and they'll grow the business and will not take advantage of the relationships that you have formed as a business owner over the years. We will not compromise your customers. We will not compromise your employees. We do not do that. We do not buy a bunch of businesses to asset strip them the following week and bundle them together and sell them on down the line to another private equity company. We don't do that. We buy to hold and grow, and we want to hold on to those businesses for decades. So here is the piece de resistance. This is really the icing on the cake. This is something that we came up with that removes all of the risk for a seller. And when I say all, I mean all. What sort of guarantee is there to offset worries about risk? Let me tell you what we came up with at Delta. We got a third party that we are very close with that has agreed to underwrite every deal that Delta does, every single one, because our due diligence process is in lockstep with their underwriting process. We go through the exact same process. And what happens is this financial guarantor can write a financial guarantee for a seller if the seller wants. You have to buy it, But if the seller wants a financial guarantee, it works like insurance if indeed the business ever does go sideways. If something happens where things go awry, a third party will kick in and pay a claim on that financial guarantee. And get this, with the way we structure it, there are some really good tax advantages too if the financial guarantee is used. So even if the world happens, the business goes awry, and they lose the business, the seller still comes out and gets the full balance of what is owed them in cash. They get made whole in cash. And that is what's great about Delta. That's one of the main things that makes us different.
I think that
makes us different.
It's phenomenal, and that's really the thing that attracted me. And in fact, I was talking about somebody that was on a previous webinar you did this morning, and they were saying that guarantee really lit them up, you know, because risk is, I mean, there's just the human fear of risk. It's very real, and it's very it's a psychological thing, you know, but it's amazing that you put that together, and I think anybody that was going to sell a business would be crazy not to take advantage of that. I mean, so tell us a little bit.
That's precisely what they say.
You know, so a person, you know, is they're already chomping at the bit to ask questions, but you're looking for a specific type of business. So can you tell us a little bit about the types of businesses you want?
Right. So not every business is in Delta's wheelhouse. We like a certain niche, and the kinds of businesses that we like are businesses that have been around for 10 years. They have a minimum of $2 million a year in sales and a minimum of $500,000 a year in net cash profits. And those are pretty much, you know, firm, written in stone kinds of benchmarks. We like simple services businesses, and these are the kinds of businesses like pest control businesses, auto body shops, funeral parlors. We like funeral homes a lot. We like simple services businesses like car washes and dry cleaners and auto repair businesses. We love those things. And there are two overarching concepts here when we take on a Delta deal. Number one, we want to work with great people. We're not in this to work with just anybody. We're very choosy about who we take on and turn into a Delta seller, and basically we kiss their retirement. The second thing is this is really the overarching thing, is that we want to have fun. We are a fun company to work with, and we want to work with people who are fun too. We want to have a good time. We want to work with great people. We want to make some great money, and we want to help business sellers preserve their wealth. And if this kind of an arrangement sounds good to you, exactly. We don't have time for that, right?
Yeah, we don't have time.
Why do we want to mess with those kinds of folks? And I'm sure your audience is identifying with that. You know, so if you have something like this and you want to see more about what we can do for you, the best thing to do is go to that website. Go to the website. It's deltabusinessservices.com. If you want to contact us, you can go to deltabusinessservices.com/contact/ and you can call our office. Our office is 210-369-4161 if you want to get someone on the horn. And if you want to email me, you can. And I am available. I am accessible. It's Heath@deltabusinessservices.com. Shoot me an email, and we can get the conversation started and get you on down the road to a successful outcome, and make you successful in your retirement.
Do you have a few minutes to answer a couple of questions that are coming in?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, of course.
One question.
Fire away.
Yeah. One question is, how are you geographically positioned? We know you're in Texas. where do you work in other states? Do you work at every state? Is that true? Do you work every state?
We have no restrictions on geography. It's natural for us, being a Texas company, to prefer Texas-based companies, but that we're not limited to that at all. You know, there are people who bring us deals from Hawaii. We have yet to see one from Alaska, but I'm sure there are some people who might send us something from Alaska. We're more than happy to take a look at it. Okay. We're not bound.
All right, they're not Texas centric. People think, you know.
We're not, indeed. Yeah. That's a very good question, because one of my testimonials is from a guy who commented specifically on that. Tammy, we have the ability at Delta to successfully remotely manage any small business anywhere in the nation.
Wow, that is awesome.
We can do it.
So
we have that ability. That's the kind of bandwidth and expertise that we bring to the table.
All right. So if you got a car wash out there in North Dakota, you can still call them. You know, just as long as they meet the basic criteria. But here's another interesting question someone had. That's
it.
If we own a business, do we have to be an older business owner? Do we have to be near retirement? Can you also buy businesses from people who are just sick and tired of doing the business? And that's interesting for people of my age bracket, I think.
That's a great question.
Yeah. What do you think?
That's a great question. And the truth of the matter is, we're focused on ages 65 and up, and that's really where the cutoff is. There are some other things that someone who's in the younger crowd could probably do to take away the pain and make it easier for them to manage that business. And if they want to, they can get a hold of me directly, and I'll be happy to share some insights with them as far as managing their business and making it a happy relationship between owner and business once more.
That's a great reply, because in other words, you know, you can start building your business to be able to sell right now, no matter what age you are, and make it better and make it, you know, sale worthy. And I think that's a very important point, Heath. You can't start soon enough to start thinking about selling. So even if you've only had your business a few years and it's successful, but you're tired of it, you should at least start planning your exit. So there's a lot of resources on Delta's website to help you think in terms of how do you make your business worthy of being sold.
That's it. On a bumper sticker, I want you to think strategically.
Think strategically.
I want you to think strategically. Those two words.
Strategically.
So if you're a business owner and you're looking to sell your business, you need to think strategically. Let's look at this long term and start cultivating what it takes to make this an attractive purchase for someone else. And let's start mapping out some tax strategy and some estate planning strategy and some asset protection strategy that really makes sense and keeps the bulk of the net worth intact. And if you can come at it that way, I think you can get a really good handle on what it's going to take to deliver a successful outcome.
Right. And I think Heath and I were talking earlier, and he said he wants to stay in this business, what he's doing right now, forever. So if you're not quite at retirement age yet, it pays to get in his little circle, because you'll learn things that when you do get ready to sell, he'll still be around. He might be really gray and, you know, and you might not be able to understand him anymore, but he'll still be in the business probably when he's 100. And so it pays.
Yeah, someone asked me that question. Someone asked me that question the other day. I think it was my mentor. He said, you know, how long are you going to do this? I said, you know what? I'm going to keep working until about 5 or 6 years after I die.
Perfect. Still be working from the grave and sending messages. Well, I want to thank everyone that you know is either watching this live or on the rebroadcast, because you know, there was a great interest in this subject area. People know that they're not ready, and they know they need to get ready. It's just like they know they need a will, but they don't have them. And Heath has a whole resource center of people. So whatever phase you're in your business, if you need some help and advice, he can certainly direct you to the right place and get you ready to start thinking about succession planning. And I want to thank Heath Bronson for being here. Again, all of you should go to the website and see what's on the website, and they're adding stuff all the time. There's also a lot of videos available now, and we're just adding content every day. And I want to thank Heath Bronson for being with us today, and everybody else, thanks for tuning in. If you have other questions, you see right on your screen where you can contact us. Have a great afternoon, and or whenever you're watching this. I mean, I've got people, hey, in Canada, I didn't ask you about this. I had a couple of people from Canada on the call the other day. Can you cross the border? Have you ever crossed the border to do a deal?
Yes, we can.
Oh my goodness! So now we're opening up.
We will cross borders. We will do it.
So we got Canada,
actually,
Mexico, South America.
So yeah, I'm more attracted to Canada than I am to Mexico, just because of the small business climate. But Canada, believe it or not, and I'm down here closer to Mexico. But I am more inclined to travel to Canada than I am to Mexico. Canada is really only a 6-hour flight for me, and I can be there in about half a day. So it's not that big a deal.
So Canadians, you're welcome to join in on this process as well. And I want to thank Heath Bronson again. Have a great day, and this recording will be available somewhere on the web. So just watch your inboxes, and we'll be sure to send it to you. Thanks a lot, Heath, and have a great day.
Thank you, Tammy. You're awesome. This is great.